Hi, let's talk about common loop errors. Um, we've been learning about how to write loops, um, and as a beginner, it is very common that you run into some of those very common loop error. So let's identify some of the common loop error. Um, Most common one by far would be off by one errors and the infinite loop, and sometimes you might even get to one of those non-executing loop. I also want to talk about the left bound include and right bound exclude common practice and why we do that. We call this a four part of every loop, and loop errors are due to problem with each of the four components. It could be initialization or condition problem. Take a look at this problem here. Can you see what's wrong with this loop? If I equal to 10 and I less than 10, is the condition here true or false? While 10 less than 10 is false. What that means is this loop never get executed because the condition is false initially. What about this? I start at 0 and I condition is you you want this while I less than equal to 10. So basically you go from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. How many numbers are here? The total 11 numbers. That means this loop going to execute 11 times when you might be only want to execute 10 times. So this is one of the off by one error. Similarly, how many times this loop going to execute? I equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And when I get to 10, that's when the loop terminates. And there are only 9 numbers here. Again, maybe you want to execute the loop 10 times, but in this case, it's only executed 9 times. Um, you will see, and you might already have seen some of the sample that I did, where the condition will be using a less than condition. Programmer like to start counting with 0. That's a good reason for that. Um, and using a less than as a position. For example, if I start something at 0, and if I want to do it 10 times, then I can say like I equal to 0 while I less than 10. This tells me how many times I need to do, and if I start at 0, then I'll be using less than. And this is what we call the left bound include. In this case, the left bound would be like, for example, 0. And the right bound exclude, like in this case, maybe like a 10. And you might be wondering, why do we want to do something like that? Well, in programming, and let me go switch to the notes here so I can do some drawing. In programming, you might be working with a big data set. For example, you might be working with like a million or billion of like a different element or different entry. So if you write a loop going from beginning to the end, you might actually need to break down the loop multiple times. To make things simple, let's just say I want to go from, say, 0 to 100. 0 inclusive and 100 exclude. Now, if when I writing a loop, I might be break this problem down into multiple chunks, like a smaller chunk. So for example, maybe I won't go from 0 to 10. Alright, so first time through, I may be working with from 0 to 10, not including 10. Because I did not include 10, the second time too, that I can have a loop like I equals 0 while I less than 10. And then the second time through, maybe I work from 10 to say 70. I can notice that because I did not include 10 in the previously, I can say I equal to 10 and while I less than 70. As you can see, the ending part that I have, I can use as a beginning part for my next continue loop to continue processing. And finally, I process the from 70 to 100, I equal to 70, and while I less than 100. You can see that I can easily see where's my breaking point. And when we talk about like a string and list in more detail, you will also see why we're doing this. String with the index start at 0, and a larger operation can work like this, where you can break it down a bigger piece into smaller chunk, and then you can loop through them. But take a look how this looping work. How we end with 1, which does not include the endpoint, which you can use as a beginning starting point for the next loop. If we include the 10, then the beginning part of the next loop will be 1 higher, which kind of like counterintuitive sometimes. Okay, so look at more example here. What's wrong in this loop here? Well, the update statement is missing. I never change, so this loop run forever. This is an infinite loop. So loop error are due to the problem with one of the 4 components of a loop. Off by 1 error, probably the most common error that I see. I still made the mistake, so do not feel bad if you made the mistake. Even seasonal programmer make those type of mistake a lot. Infinite loop or loop that doesn't get executed at all also happen. How do you troubleshoot those type of problem? Well, if you cannot see the problem, use a debugger. Watch how the loop variable value change as the loop execute, and check whether the loop variable are correct as they execute. Let me ask you here, how many times does the following loop run? How many times? So I equal to 0 while I is greater than 10, so that means it's 0 greater than 10? Well, 0 is not greater than 10, that's a false. That means the loop does not get executed. Thank you.